Hello, everyone, and welcome to October's Lunch and Learn. My name is Madeline, and I run customer marketing here at Sonar. And today I have got Larry back with me to run through the anchor and linked serviceable address feature in Sonar. Now, since it's been a couple months since Larry last joined us, here's a quick reminder of who he is. Larry is our technical product manager focused on integrations, which means he is the one working on all the behind the scenes tools that connect Sonar to the broader system that you rely on every day. So he's been with Sonar for over 3 years and he knows exactly how the platform fits into your day to day and how to build features that make your workflows smoother and not more complicated. You might not have even needed that introduction, though, as I'm sure many of you also recognize his face and voice from the Bandwidth podcast. If you're not familiar, that is the Sonar sponsored show where he and his fellow Sonar hosts dig into all sorts of juicy topics about broadband operations, industry tech, and the people behind the networks and the challenges they face. So, today, before we get into the topic, Larry, I really want to know what has been your favorite part of hosting a podcast so far?
Well, so the podcast, I think the most interesting part and fun part for me is the love it or hate it. We get to bring out a lot of good discussion. And for those of you who know, either you're part of Team Data, as I am, or Team Data. Which one are you?
I'm Data as well. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know we have got a full house today. This is a very popular topic, so I'm going to let you take it away, Larry.
All right, thanks. So let's get started and start going through our presentation. I appreciate the introduction there, Madeline. And I also appreciate all of you taking some valuable time out of your day to learn more about Anchor and Link Serviceable Address Billing and how it can work for you and what we've got. So let's get started. For those of you who have joined us on previous Lunch and Learns, you'll see that the agenda is pretty much like we always do. We will start with the what is it? We'll go into showing how does it work. Then we'll talk about how you can start using it. And then at the end, we can wrap up with any questions that you might have. And I will try to provide you with the answers. So let's get going. So what is the challenge that we're trying to solve here? This was set up to really solve for some specific use cases where you have complex billing requirements and relationships. Where we see this typically being used is for things like multi-dwelling units, which I might refer to in the future as just MDUs, HOAs, satellite offices if you've got a corporate satellite office scenario, or other wholesale billing situations is really what this was meant to provide. We provide some unique billing defaults that we'll go into real soon. And those weren't solved by the basic billing defaults and basic rules that you typically would set up in a standard scenario. The other part of this that comes into play is address management needs might differ here from standard accounts. Typically, if you've got like a large apartment complex, you might be managing tens, hundreds of apartments, and we've created some tools that can really help you there to get things up and going. Some key concepts that we're going to need to focus in on are the concept of the anchor account. And you can think of that as kind of the central point. It would be in the apartment scenario. It would be the owners of the apartments that you've negotiated with and plan to provide service for. So in a corporate structure, it might be the headquarter office versus the satellite offices. And then we've got the linked accounts or linked addresses, and those are the subsidiary locations. The easiest example is apartments, individual apartments in a multi-dwelling unit. And then the last concept we want to bring up is wholesale billing. So this is sort of the agreement that you come to with the building owner or the corporation on how you are going to be able to bill for this, what services you're going to provide, who's going to pay for it all, and kind of really the secret sauce, I would say, to this anchor linked billing setup that we have created for you guys. And then why does it matter? Well, it matters because it gives you a way to accurately bill and reflect that agreement that you've negotiated with your customer so that you can set this up in a way that makes sense for both you and for them. It allows you to quickly and consistently set up addresses and accounts so that you are ready to start taking those linked customers on board as they start calling in and getting ready to go. And then because this provides some kind of centralized visibility, it can lead to enhanced customer support for your internal staff because they can see this setup much more easily. They can manage it. They can only provision the correct services for this agreement, and that just makes things run more smoothly. So let's now see how this works. We're going to take some time to go into a Sonar instance and set up some of these and show you the different areas that we've made enhancements to and how you can start utilizing them. So the first thing we're going to do is to look at billing defaults. I know it's not a really super exciting topic, but in this case, it maybe is a little more exciting than you'd be used to seeing. So let's just jump right into our instance and see what we've got going here. So we just open up our instance here, and we are going to go down into our settings. And then once the settings open up, we're going to go into the billing section and billing defaults. I'm going to show you just quickly creating a billing default, just so you can see some of those new settings that are there. But then we'll look at one that I have set up. So you come in, you give it a name, we'll just call it test. You can see now that in this default there's a new option. There is the serviceable address anchor linked. And that is how you get this set up. When you click on that, you will see that two new tabs appear. We've got the anchor address billing defaults and the linked address billing defaults. You do need to set up both of these, and you can switch back and forth real easily. Most of the billing defaults are things that you're already going to be used to. Stuff like the billing mode, the billing settings, how many days you're going to allow them. But here's one new one, is the delinquency logic. So if an anchor account goes delinquent, how do you want the linked accounts to be affected by that? Maybe you want to turn off all the linked accounts as well. So anchor delinquency can apply to the linked accounts, or maybe they operate independently. You don't want to turn off all those linked accounts if the anchor isn't paying. That's a choice that you can make here. And then you can see the rest of the billing settings that you're typically used to setting up, and you'll want to set those up both for the anchor and the linked account. So we're going to just close this down. We're going to look at one I set up so you don't have to watch me type and fumble through that. So let's edit this one that we've set up and see what kind of settings we've got here. So I gave it just a name of anchor wholesale. You can see it's an anchor linked. I set up, invoice billing on invoice day, periods to bill 1. I am not going to turn off all the linked accounts when the anchor doesn't pay. And then I can set up like due days and grace days and that. But the real exciting stuff is here on the linked address. So let's click over to that. It doesn't look real exciting yet. It looks just like your standard billing defaults. But you notice you can have different things. Like here I set the due days and grace days to a different amount than I had for the anchor account, and you can do that. But if you scroll down just a little bit further, here's where the exciting part comes. You've got the available services section, and we just recently added, which was needed, the available packages. So we can pick the services that we're going to offer in this anchor linked setup. It brings over the pricing that came from the service by default, but we can override it here. And then the anchor subsidy. How much is the anchor account going to pay or subsidize the linked accounts when they sign up for these services. And likewise, you can do this down at the package level. You can name override everything. So if you want to provide custom names for that apartment complex, you can do that. And the package brings in the services that are part of that package. And again, you can override the names, change the pricing, put in the anchor subsidy, and you have the ability to roll up services individual from other billing defaults. So we save that, and that is really what you need to do to set up billing defaults, which is kind of this first step in getting everything going, especially if you're doing wholesale billing. Now, if you are just want to create the relationship of anchor and linked addresses and accounts, you don't really need to set this up. This is really where you want to provide specific services. And within those services, you maybe want to override pricing and you want to do some subsidies. So if you're not doing that, you don't need to come in here and set the billing default. You can just go to our next section, which is the address management. So we realize that with anchor and linked billing that there are some unique address requirements. So we have tried to address those for you to try and simplify things and make things operate more quickly and smoothly. So let's take a look at those. I find it easiest for the anchor account to just create the account and the anchor address all at once, because you're going to need to attach that anchor address to an account anyways. So let's create an account. We'll call it our Foxglove Apartments that we've been using for the billing defaults that we had. We're going to put it in the right company. We're going to create the new address for this apartment complex. We're going to say it's an anchor address that we're creating, and we are going to use that wholesale billing so that we can demonstrate that. We picked that billing default that I just showed you guys. Give it an address. I like to try 123 Sum Street, and that just doesn't exist. I'm hoping sometime somebody is going to create 123 Sum Street for me. So we'll just pick Summer Street for the now, for the address, and go from there. We'll create that address. It'll take us back to the account. We'll create the account, give it a status of active, and we'll make it a commercial account. And create that. There would be more that we could do, but we don't need to do that for the demo. So you can see this is an anchor account because it has an anchor right in front of the account name. You can also see down in the note section, this account has a serviceable address assigned to it, an anchor serviceable address, and both those kind of show you what you can do. Now there's a few ways to create accounts. We'll go location tools, serviceable addresses, and you can see that address we just created in there, and it's got a type of anchor. And in that drop-down list, we have some options now. We can create a linked address, which will be an individual single address. We can create bulk link addresses, and this is where I think it really becomes powerful, and we'll demonstrate that soon. Or you could also link existing addresses. So if you've got addresses already in your system that you want to link, you could do that as well. And those will become the link addresses. So let's just go create a single link address at this point. And it should be very familiar. We'll just say it's a linked address is a subset of this. So that'll bring in the same address information that we typed in before. We're going to say this is apartment 101. So we're creating one address for apartment 101. And it brought in all the rest for us. We create that. And we see we've got a linked address now. But, you know, what if we've got a whole bunch of these? We don't want to sit here and do this one by one. That seems like it would take a lot of time. So let's bulk create addresses. And that will allow us to, you know, maximum 50 at a time. You may have to do this more than once if you've got a big apartment complex. We'll give it the range of addresses we want to create. We're going to just create 9 at this point. But you'll see that 101 to 109, and we hit create. And this is going to tell us that we already had an apartment 101, which is the one I just created. And that's okay. It will still create the rest of them for you. It just won't obviously override that one or do anything to that one. But we can see all the addresses are there. There's apartment 101, 102, all the way through 109. So we just instantly created a whole bunch of addresses for us. But if we want to take this even one step further, we can create accounts to go along with those addresses. So we've got a basic account that we can then override like the name and stuff like that. So we'll just create a couple of these, 110 through 111. We'll just do 2 because we'll use those going forward. And we say, create this shell account, tell it the company, what's its default status going to be. We'll just say they're leads until they become actual customers, probably residential for an apartment, and create those. So we see it added the 2 addresses there for us. They're linked addresses as well. But if you look at the in use, you can see that it's got yes, because there are accounts now associated to those. If we go down and look back at our anchor address and we go and manage that, this is one way you can see all the linked addresses. So we can see all those addresses here that we've created. And we can see those 2 that we created with the accounts attached to them. So those with linked accounts. That is, one of the ways that you can see this anchor and linked setup being displayed for you. We can also go over to the anchor account and look at by going into the billing and see all the linked accounts. Now here we only get the 2 that we created shell accounts for, because the rest are just kind of waiting for accounts to be added to them. So these are really the only ones that could go active, even though they're in lead status at this point. But we'll take them out of that soon. If we look at a linked account, you see it's got a link in front of it. And it also shows the anchor address that's associated with. So there's a really good correlation that you can easily see and jump back and forth between your anchor and linked accounts and see that they are tied to one another, and use them as you need to create this scenario that really should mimic the real world setup that you are trying to go after. So now that we've got accounts set up, we've got a couple of linked accounts with our anchor account, how do we set up then the billing for all of this? So that is what we are going to go over in our next section. We're going to look at the account integration. Now that we've got addresses and they're linked together, what do we do next to get things going? So let's take a look at that. I've got all tabs up for the accounts so we can quickly switch between them. So we're at our anchor account at this point, and that's our Foxglove Apartments. This is a brand new account, so nothing's happened. There's no balance due, there's no next recurring charge, there's nothing. No transactions, they haven't done anything. So let's add a package to them, or a service. So we're gonna go here and so they've got all the services available. So let's give them blue data. That's $50 a month. And the way I set up the billing defaults, it's going to bill 2 months up front. So that we'll see that in the transaction. The total balance is 100, but the next recurring charge shows that $50. So that's the $50 that they've got for that blue data service. That is just for the anchor account. Now we're going to go to the first of the linked accounts, and we can see that this is brand new as well. It's got $0 balance. There's no next recurring charges, no balance. We're going to add a package, or a service in this case. Sorry, I keep saying packages. You'll notice here, though, when we drop down, we've only got the 3 services that we set up in the billing default. So they are only able to pick those services that you have agreed upon with the customer to provide at this location. So we'll pick one of those. Let's just pick the silver package and create that. We see that gets added to their account. You can see something a little different here, though. You can see well, let's first activate the account, because then we can get to start generating some of that billing for us. We can see an amount and that subsidy that we created, and then the total that the customer is responsible for. So we can see that also reflected in the transactions here. We see that $57.95 is his next recurring charge, which is his portion of it that wasn't subsidized. And we bill them for the 2 months, which is where we get the $115.90, which is 2 times $57.95. But if we go back now to the anchor account and go to the transactions, and we'll refresh here real quick, we can see that now his next recurring charges went from $50 to $57 because he's subsidizing $7 of that customer's service. And we also put that $14 charge for his first 2 months of subsidy on his account. So that all happened automatically for us as part of this relationship that we've set up and configured here. And what we just recently added is packages. So we'll go to that second account and we'll add a package. You notice we overrode the name, so that shows up here as Foxglove Premier, but still references the original package so that you can more easily correlate things together, and your customer support staff is used to that. So we'll add that package in. And again, we can see the subsidy and the total. And we can see like the bottom one wasn't subsidized at all, so the total stays at $19.90. And again, if we go then back and activate this account so that some billing takes place, we can go over to look at the transactions. We can see his next recurring charge is $101.85. If you are quick at doing the math, you can verify that that is correct. Otherwise, you'll just have to believe me here because this is a hosted PBX. So there's some charges for the lines and the seats and stuff like that as well. But there was also a subsidy on this one. So that has already been reflected over here in the anchor account. I refreshed it even though it was there already. And we have, the $10 times 2 months of the gold package that we're subsidizing. And then his next recurring charge also went up from 57 to 67. So it is kind of keeping track of all of that billing relationship for you. It is ensuring that only the services and packages that you have made part of this agreement are available, and enforcing those rules so that your customer support staff doesn't have to remember that, and that everything is accurately billed for and invoiced according to that agreement that you've made with that customer, that apartment complex. So how do you start using it? Is pretty much that same list of items that we just demonstrated. If you are going to set up wholesale billing agreements where you're going to provide either customized pricing or subsidies, you don't have to do subsidies if you don't want. You're going to want to create that billing default, and you're going to want to establish it with the services and packages that you guys have agreed upon and get that up and going. After that, you're going to set up your anchor account and attach the anchor address to that. You're going to make sure you pick, if it's a wholesale billing account, the billing default that you created. You're going to link accounts to it, which you can either do in bulk if you have a lot to create, or you can just link a few of them if you've only got a few to go. And then sit back and have some increased satisfaction because things will bill correctly. Customer support people will provision things that are only allowed as part of the agreement, and it should hopefully work the way that you are expecting to do that. We do have a couple of knowledge base articles that would be good for you to reference as you start getting this up and going. There's the anchor and link serviceable address article. There's a billing defaults article. For those of you scrambling to write down those long URLs, there's no need to do that. Just go over to our knowledge base and type in the word anchor. When you do that in the search window, these will be the top 2 articles that pop up, and you can start referencing those. So hopefully that gave you a good idea of how to start using it and the capabilities that it has to offer. I know we kind of went through a lot of that quickly. This is definitely being recorded, so you can go back and watch this again if you need to, or now we can take a few minutes to answer some questions that you might have about this.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry. That was so great. We have had a couple questions come in throughout, so that's always really nice to see. So I'm going to highlight this one first from Kelsey. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. Can you use anchor and linked billing defaults in conjunction with account type billing defaults?
No, these two are completely separate concepts. So, well, okay. Yes, you can. So if you aren't doing wholesale billing, such that you're going to provide only a limited set of services and packages, or you need to provide customized pricing, or you need to do subsidies, in that case, then when you just create that anchor address, you don't select the wholesale billing. And then in that instance, it will go back to the standard account type billing defaults based on the type of account that you're creating. So yes, you can do that.
Perfect. Okay, and we've got another question, this one from Matt. So for the subsidy, can it be a percentage or is it only a dollar amount?
It is only a dollar amount currently, so you'll have to put that in.
Perfect. Nice and easy answer for that one. We've got a question here from Michelle. She missed the first few minutes. So how do you make an account an anchor account? Is it an account type or something else?
No, the anchor and linked are on the addresses. So it becomes an anchor account when you create that address, and you'll be able to go back and look at that. There'll be a checkbox in the address creation that says this is an anchor address. So when you check that box and then associate that serviceable address to an account, that makes it an anchor account.
Awesome. Okay, questions are rolling in. This is so fantastic to see. Mary asks, do the billing parameters, the bill period and bill date, have to be the same on the anchor and linked account? That's a great question, Mary.
That is a great question. And no, they can be separate. So you have, when you create that anchor and linked billing default, you have two tabs. You've got the anchor tab and you've got the link tab. And most of the billing default things that you're used to can be customized specifically for the anchor address, and then another set of them that don't have to match for the linked address. So you do have that flexibility to have different defaults for both of those.
Yeah. So if you're switching over from, maybe you were using parent-child as kind of a workaround for this in the past, that was a limitation of the parent-child. It's not with the anchor linked, which is one of the reasons this feature is so cool. We have another question from Matt here that I think is a great question. Can you do an anchor, a linked, and then a third level of sublinked?
No, you cannot. So anchor and linked is the concept. There's not you can't then have parent child on your linked account. So it is only one level deep at this point.
Perfect. And we're almost at the end here, but I know I had a couple questions. This is a super useful feature, but it's can be a little bit complicated because there are so many different setup options. So if we didn't answer all of your questions here, I would encourage you to talk to your client relations manager. They'll be able to help you set up this feature and answer all your questions in detail. But I'm going to end it with an easy one, Larry. Is there a way to report on anchor and linked addresses?
Yes, there is a report dashboard that's set up. So if you go into your Sonar instance, when you have this set up, you can see the anchor linked reporting dashboard under the financial section.
Fantastic. And Kelsey, I see you have another question here. Unfortunately, we are at time. So I would connect with your client relations manager. They'll be able to dive into all the questions here that you have on this feature and help you get it set up for your particular use cases. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. This has been a great session with lots of engagement. Thank you, Larry, for presenting. And we'll see you all in November.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you taking the time.
Bye.
Bye.